Gail? Hey, how you doing? Good. Listen, the Geauga County Sheriff's Office. We just want to see if we can talk to you for a couple of minutes.
No, yeah.
Okay. You have any idea what we want to talk to you about? Because I kind of think you might.
Well, my parents said that you were at their house.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think that's about?
It was about a baby.
Yeah.
Hi everyone and welcome back to our channel. Today we're diving into one of Ohio's most haunting unsolved mysteries, the case of Geauga's child. This tragic and puzzling case dates back to 1993 and continues to perplex investigators and the community. Let's get into the details of this chilling story. About 30 miles east of Cleveland in Geauga County, northeast Ohio, you'll find the countryside you can easily get lost in. A good place if you want to hide secrets. In March 1993, the body of a baby boy lay in the middle of a gravel road. The small body was so unrecognizable that many vehicles passed by, not even knowing this was a child. That was until when a newspaper delivery girl by the name of Cheryl Jenkins was out delivering papers. That morning, 21-year-old Cheryl Jenkins was bouncing down an empty county road in a pickup truck with a friend. They were driving their route delivering newspapers. Watching the edge of the road where melting snow brushed against the woods, Jenkins noticed something that made her stop the car and swing back around. Immediately, she knew something was off, and when she went closer, she realized it was a human baby. It was wrapped in a blue garbage bag. She informed the authorities, and when investigators came, they covered it up with a white blanket. The body has suffered severe trauma and was missing some limbs. The investigation into whose son he was and what happened to him turned up no answers. Investigators believe the baby has been run over by a car or mauled by an animal. They set up a tip line and sent out flyers and begged anyone with any information about the mother of the child to let them know. Hundreds of calls rolled in. At least 2 of them came from the local bus drivers. They saw the lifeless infant, but assumed it was a baby toy and did not pause to investigate it. This is a tremendous mystery. What kind of mother would abandon her infant to the mercy of nature? Was it left there by a young mom from this town, or was it dropped on the road by a traveling mother? Who might have the audacity to abandon this defenseless infant in the midst of this peaceful road perplexed the police, who were unable to locate the baby's mother. It was later confirmed by the authorities that the youngster was 1 to 5 days old. They were unable to determine if he had passed away from exposure to the cold or brought there lifeless. This startling discovery perturbed the society. They sympathized with the infant who had been left in isolation by his wicked parents. Since they were unable to identify the infant, they called him Geauga's child. The baby was buried by the community a few days after the horrifying discovery. Hundreds of people came to pay their tribute to the infant. In order to keep an eye out for any suspects who might attend the burial, investigators also turned in. Authorities were on the lookout for a woman who was able to hide her pregnancy from her family and friends, because if anybody knew of any recent pregnant women, they would have informed police or offer some tips and clues. CCTV cameras were set up on and around the area the baby was found in to spot for any suspicious activity in the vicinity. But they didn't catch much activity. Meanwhile, the community, so touched by the tragedy, raised money for a headstone. The word Geauga's child was inscripted on the headstone not far from Sidley Road where the baby was found. There was also a writing that said, "Too late to save his life, too late to make things right, but not too late to teach us all to love and cherish life." A commemorative service was conducted at the boy's tomb in 2003, several years after his discovery. Additionally, authorities installed a camera facing the cemetery in case the parents decided to visit and offer their condolences at any point after this. However, no indications of an emotional parent are seen. Talking to a press outlet, a deputy said he would be 10 years old now, probably have a crew-cut hairstyle with a baseball cap. He would like to play and run around with his siblings. That's what should have happened for Geauga's child. Years went by, and investigations continued in search of solutions, but they were unable to uncover any meaningful leads. The baby's teeth buds were taken for DNA analysis, and they searched the law enforcement database without getting any results. 2010 saw a number of female suspects ruled out by DNA testing, and no one could be accounted for. By 2013, another decade had passed without any progress. All we knew about the baby was nothing more than what was written on its gravestone. However, the community never gave up hope, continuing to support the investigation. A breakthrough in the case was made feasible by DNA genealogy in 2018, several years later. That was the year that the majority of cold cases started utilizing DNA genealogy. Up until now, DNA genealogy has been applied in only few cases. Motivated by another unsolved cold case, the Golden State Killer case, in which the perpetrator was apprehended by DNA matching. Likewise, police hope using this new method the parents of the child can be tracked down. But finding the parents of Geauga's child was like finding a needle in a haystack. Unlike in other cold cases where they had suspects, in this one the investigators have to identify the guilty from scratch. Law enforcement took DNA samples from the crime lab and sent it to a forensic lab. The lab creates a profile and uploads it to a database and looks for matches. There is one website called GEDmatch which compiles DNA profile from various other websites. The database was a public genealogy database where people wanting to find out their roots and origin voluntarily entered their DNA profile on the website. Over the next few months, detectives were able to construct a family tree of about 1,400 people. These people were from around the world and in different countries. From the 1,400, they tracked down the man from Omaha, Nebraska, who submitted the closest DNA in relation to the baby. His name is Vernon Holden, but it turns out that Holden didn't submit his own DNA on the GEDmatch. He had submitted his father-in-law's DNA to an ancestry database using his own account. GEDmatch compiles DNA ancestry and information from other sites, but only if it is uploaded voluntarily. Harvey Eastwood is the name of the father-in-law. Harvey was Geauga's child's third-generation cousin. Harvey is a father of 2 daughters. He had no idea where Geauga County was when they went to speak with him. But as detectives were about to leave the spot, Harvey suddenly commented that he just remembered his daughters met their spouses at a camp in 1993. Detectives asked him where the camp is located. Harvey then gave directions on how to get to the camp, which, surprisingly, led to a location just a mile away from where the baby was found. Once more, investigators questioned Harvey about whether any of his daughters had dated a man with Middle Eastern ancestry. Harvey acknowledged that one of his daughter, Gail, did wed a man called Guy Richie, a man of Lebanese heritage. At that point, investigators believe they have the solution they had been searching for. Harvey and his wife's DNA were taken by detectives for examination. The report reveals a week later that they were Geauga's child's grandparents. Investigators learned that Harvey's daughter, Gail Eastwood-Ritchey, had been married and raised 3 now adult children. The DNA testing also determined that Eastwood-Ritchey's husband, Guy Richie, was the father of Geauga's child.
Yeah? Hey, how you doing? Good. Look, the Geauga County Sheriff's Office. We just wanted to see if we could talk to you for a couple of minutes.
No, yeah.
Okay. You have any idea what we want to talk to you about? Because I kind of think you might.
Well, my parents said that you were at their house.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think that's about?
It was about a baby.
Yeah. What about?
A baby that was left.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell us about it? We're not here to judge you, Gail. We don't know what was going on at the time. We don't want to speculate either, okay? So I don't think you want us to speculate. We're not here to arrest you, okay? We are here to take your DNA, okay? And we would like for you to tell us your side of the story, because we'd like to know. As of right now, you're not under arrest. You're not going to be arrested today. But we want to know what was going on. I think after 26 years, it's time. Don't you? It's had to be weighing on you.
Should we go inside?
Well, what we'd like to do is get your DNA, okay? And then we would like for you to come back to our sheriff's office so that we can talk. You're not being arrested, okay? But we need to sit down and we need to hear your side of the story. Okay?
Detectives approached Gail. She was about to leave for work when they pulled up in front of her garage. She looked calm and composed as the sea, since she knew beforehand the detectives had come looking for her. From Gail, detectives collected a DNA sample. She acknowledged having abandoned the baby boy. Neighbors and acquaintances of Eastwood-Ritchey were horrified by the news. She has been employed as a receptionist at a dancing studio for the last 3 years. Gail Eastwood was described by the studio director as a nice and amiable individual. All the people at the studio liked her. She was a devoted Christian as well. Gail was taken by police for questioning. During questioning, Gail, who is currently 49 years old, stated that she was 23 years old when she became pregnant with Geauga's child. She said that she was unaware of her pregnancy for several months and that her suspicions about it began the day before she gave birth.
At that time, my husband and I were dating. We were sexually active. I did use contraceptives, but apparently one didn't work. I did not know I was pregnant at the time. I still had my menstrual cycles. And then my menstrual cycles ended up stopping.
Okay.
I don't know how long they were. You need to know that. I don't know.
But at some point during the pregnancy, they stopped.
Yes, it stopped.
Do you know about when that would have been?
They don't.
In relation, was it winter time or was it? Is there anything you could kind of put to it that would tell you as to about when those menstrual cycles stopped?
I want to say about 3 months before the baby was actually born.
Okay.
And I honestly do not remember the date or the day when the baby was born. I do know it was in winter. I was at work. I was a nanny for a family in Shaker Heights. I was waiting for them to come home from school. I hadn't been feeling well at all that day. The next thing I knew, I was giving birth to a baby in the toilet. I didn't know what to do. I looked at it. I took it out to my car. I placed it in the trunk.
Was the baby still in a bag at that time? Or did you put it in something else?
But
Like a garbage bag?
mm-hmm.
Okay.
Then I went home.
Where were you living at the time?
With my parents.
Okay.
I was still
on
at
Harwich there?
Yeah. Car and just drove. I don't know where I ended up. And I just ended up stopping on a road. I don't know which road. And I took the bag out of the trunk.
Detectives were informed by her that she gave birth to the child in a restroom and was unsure of what to do with it. She had no idea what the baby's gender was. She placed the infant in her car's trunk and kept it there in a trash bag. She left the baby in her car's trunk for a few days while she carried on with her daily activities. It was believed that she might have abandoned the infant in the car's trunk to die alone. She attended the youth group at a church camp in Geneva around a week later. She then drove to Thompson Township, approximately a mile away, and abandoned the dead infant on the road, where it was subsequently discovered. She claimed she didn't remember the baby making a sound, denying that she bore the child alive. She added that she wasn't certain she would marry Mark Richie, which was another reason she didn't retain the baby. After 25 years of marriage, Gail and Mark had 3 grown children together. Officers went to speak with Mark Richie at his house, which is located 20 miles away from Gail Ritchie's residence. He doesn't seem to be aware of any of this, and he didn't think Gail could have kept anything from him. He was unaware of Gail's other miscarriages beyond what she had already disclosed to him. Gail was apprehended shortly after and faced trial. The defense team for Gail Ritchie contended in court that there was no proof the child was alive at birth. Meanwhile, prosecutors presented with the examination report of the baby's lung tissue at the time it was found, which revealed that the baby was breathing at birth. It was never understood clearly why she abandoned her newborn child. The most shocking new detail, according to authorities, is that Gail confessed that Geauga's child was not the first baby she had discreetly abandoned. Geauga's child wasn't Gail's only victim. She had used the same exact strategy to dispose off her baby after delivering it in 1991, when she was just 20 years old. She stored it in a plastic bag, and he kept it close to a medical facility. She even guided investigators to the location, but given that 30 years had elapsed before they learned anything, it makes sense that the infant was never found. To extradite her for this crime, however, the prosecutors had no evidence. Everyone following the trial found this to be a startling turn of events. The judge declared, "Your freedom is over. Your wrongful efforts to conceal what happened in February 1993 bought you 29 years of normal life where you got the chance to get married, raise children, and do some good works. But ultimately you gained that time on the back of a helpless infant, whose body you concealed in the woods. Ironically, Geauga's child did more for you than you ever did for him." Ultimately, Gail was found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison with possibility of parole in 15 years. And that's all about this case, folks. Though we are happy that justice has been carried out, contemplating the life this defenseless child could have had breaks our heart. The Geauga's child case is a prime example of both the community's enduring faith for justice and the tenacity of law enforcement. It also emphasizes how cutting-edge forensic genealogy may be in cracking unsolved cold cases. Thank you for watching, and if you want to see more true crime stories, please think about subscribing to our channel. Please leave a comment below if you would like us to discuss any intriguing cases you may find.